This is Into the Storm. Triumphant tragedy transformation. Buffaloes, not cowards. Buffaloes wisely fight into the storm, not painfully away from the storm like cows. This is raw, real, and rewarding for men with a spiritual emphasis. I'm Ryan Smith, your host, and it's my privilege to be with Bunker Weimer, your co-host. This is your podcast. By joining us, you join the community of post-secularism. Vanguards combining the one, religious and spiritual values with secular and scientific understanding. It's time to stop operating as if one is better than the other, but we're really just talking about the same thing and operating with one objective, truth.
Before we jump into it, we want to let you know of even more incredible opportunities to learn and, more importantly, discover healing for yourself and those you love. You can learn more at tttransformation.com and theryancsmith.com for one-on-one coaching and large-scale speaking events to transform your relationship and your life. Be part of the action.
Woo! Well, this is so exciting. This is a very first for us, having Quinton kicking this off, and you guys have the great opportunity to get to know the inside life of Quinton. I want to introduce him first. We are in the same comedy class doing improv, and Quinton has been doing this for a lot longer than me. I don't actually know how long, but I know longer than me, and he is so talented. I'm getting 3 years. Thank you. And I've just been doing it a few months, and I've been so grateful for Quinton. He brings a fun, lively, spontaneous, you never know what's going to happen. And he's like a magician, just pulls just different things out of the hat, keeps you on the edge of your seat. And he's also just very raw, and he would be vulnerable. And the parts that he would share about his life were very connecting. And he would took me under his wing and has been showing me and encouraging me as I've been trying a new thing that has definitely brought up a lot of insecurities for me. And so his sensitivity, his fun, charisma has just been a lot, and I'm just so privileged to have him here. Just to get started, Quinton, and could you just share a little bit more about you and what makes you you?
Yeah. So we have a little disclaimer about who I am. So I'm non-binary, going by all pronouns. My last relationship was with a trans woman. I was formerly religious, but now I'm an atheist. But I believe that we can learn from each other, and that we can come together because we all share similar experiences of going through this mortal life together.
Thank you. Well, we have some questions, and just getting into this and kind of hosting this interview here. If I could just start, and maybe this is what the one of the first things that I learned about you, and if you could maybe share this with everyone else, is what is the legacy you want to leave the world with?
Yeah. So thinking about a legacy, thinking about like, when I die, what's left? Why would my life matter? And I think that everyone has to answer that for themselves. And for me, that answer was leaving the world with tangible evidence that I existed, leaving it with videos, video games, novels, going to shows and performing live, basically getting, adapting and connecting with people on an emotional level, connecting with people, making them laugh, making them cry, making them feel things that they wouldn't have before, making them explore themselves, teaching them about how to entertain, and being there for them with social connections and doing fun podcasts.
And because I think part of this is that you really want to have that stage presence. That's not all of you, obviously, but that's a part of you that's really important that you really, most people don't share, like, oh, I really want to be on the stage. I really want to be in the
Mhm.
media or the arts, I think. And so that, how
Yeah.
did that evolve for you, Quentin?
So
And am I right about that
yeah.
first?
So I've always had difficulty connecting with people. Um, I have undiagnosed autism. Speaking to therapists, it's like, oh, we could go down this road if you really wanted to. I'm like, we have other things to discuss. And you can technically say like high functioning or uh, not really needing, what's it called? Needing assistance with my day to day activities. And so connecting people has been hard, but making people laugh is and understanding people is something that I strived for. And uh, I started making content, uh, creating like little games and seeing the reactions that came from that. And then started creating videos and seeing the impact that some of the educational videos that I had. And then I tried to make skits because uh, I loved comedy so much that I wanted to implement that in my life. And then I signed up to go learn improv, and I performed on stage for my first time. Was a nervous wreck and performed terribly, but I learned that I
Which is
love
really hard to imagine.
yes, I love that adrenaline, or not adrenaline, but I love the feeling of connecting with people on a laughter level.
Mm. Well, and you, for those of you, I highly encourage. I've even posted on YouTube the things and seen just his on the spot. And impromptu is all about impromptu, right? And so it's so fun to see just the quick wit of Quinton. And so it's interesting to hear this now that you get nervous because it seems so
Yeah,
natural. It seems like you have this whole agenda when you get on there, but yet, so that's interesting
yeah.
to see.
I don't think I get nervous anymore because the more I expose myself to a stimuli, the less stimulus I become. That's a generalization of basically everything.
Well,
Uh,
say that again. Say that again.
the more that I am exposed to a stimuli, I am less stimulus. If that's the right
Mm.
word.
It
If
does. It's not as scary whenever if you keep on
when
practicing that thing.
I believe one of the core fears that humans has is the fear of the unknown. And once you've turned on the light switch, you you can't turn off it and not know where your bed is. Um, so if you've checked that there's monsters under your bed, then and you see that there's no monsters under your bed, then you know that there's none. Once you've turned fear into knowledge, it
Mm.
goes away.
You gotta look. You gotta look it in the face to really see, is it as scary as I fear it is?
Yeah,
Kind of the is it Kennedy who says we have nothing to fear but fear itself? Some
I
I
believe it's
guess.
Kennedy.
Yeah, but
our
I think
biggest fear is fear itself.
there's always nuance to that as well, because fear is a good motivator to not do something, like to not go up and like push a police officer over because you'd fear you get arrested is probably a good fear to have. Or like the fear to touch a hot stove because you were going to get burnt is probably a good fear to have. But fear in situations where it comes, fear in social situations is really fun because that comes from the anxiety of not being accepted by our tribe. And if I'm not accepted, then I can't have the village meat from or the dairy from the dairy cows because I'm ostracized. And we want to fit in together. We want to uh, I don't know if everyone does, but at least I have a social inclination to be positive towards other people. And yeah, there's, you can call it biology, you can call it nurture as well, because a lot of our societies and what our societal norms are depended on where we are in a culture. Like when I went to Thailand and lived there for a little bit, you don't hold the door open with your foot because that's considered rude. Because feet are beneath you, feet are soiled. Um, and just different cultures handle different things differently, but we all have taboos.
Yeah, and I really like this idea. You know, what you said is like, or at least how I heard what you said, Quinton, is that we are biologically wired to be accepted by our tribe. And if we
Mm-hmm.
are rejected by our tribe, you know, caveman days, that meant instant death. Like if you go out naked in the sticks, your chances of surviving are very slim. We don't have sharp teeth, we don't run really fast, and we don't have fur, and we can't fly. And so our ability to survive
Mm-hmm.
is really dependent on our ability to work as a team. And so if our team rejects us, biologically that means death. And so rejection, I think, hits us harder than maybe it would, I don't know, some I
Yeah.
don't know, there's
And then
like
there's
a
also like nuance to that as well, because if we only say that it's biological, then there's also something to be said about people who don't have, who are neurodivergent from. So neurodivergency is, if we consider what a normal brain would be like, we're divergent from that path. So if you have like autism, for example, neurotypical people would be able to pick up on like emotions through like facial expressions, where someone who has the autistic trait of not being able to pick up on facial expressions might talk your ear off about trains, and they don't get that, they don't understand that you don't want to talk about that. Like your body posture and like leaning back and like looking around, or checking your phone, they'll still talk to you about the thing that they like. Like one of my or three of my cousins um, have a lot more autistic traits, and um, knowing that, I'm able to communicate with them better because I know the type of conversations that we'll get into. And I believe that neurotypical people, um, if they were to learn more about neurodivergencies, then there'd be less stigma attached to different disorders, and we'd be able to pull more people into our tribe.
oh, that's that's really interesting that, you know, that there's maybe some people that aren't as sensitive maybe to those, the body language or maybe rejection in that, and that they will behave differently. And so, Quinton, have you ever been rejected? And if so, how did you deal with it?
Like 90 to 95% of the things that I try to accomplish, I'm rejected.
Like
So
what? What?
so let's talk about relationships. 90% of the women that I've ever asked out have said no, right? Let's talk about projects. Every single video game and novel that I've ever created hasn't recouped the cost that I put into it. Um, let's talk about like improv. I've been rejected from the auditions that we had. Let's talk about the interviews that I've had. I've been denied. I've only had like 2 computer science jobs out of like the 100 different interviews that I had. Um,
Oh,
and it's not uncommon at all to be rejected in the majority of a person's life. Everything, yeah. If everything went
That's more
as,
normal
yeah.
than having a 100% shooting or batting average or something.
Hmm. And I believe that,
That's a really healthy perspective. That
yeah.
rejection is that's normal.
Hmm. And I believe that we can learn from rejection. And I believe that once we've been rejected, now that's a known thing. Like I was rejected from, like, I remember like one of my first interviews was for, uh, oh, I can't remember. But I remember the first interview that I got accepted into a job was for a laundromat. Um, and like this is a terrible example. Uh, I'll just pick a different rejection example. So I was talking to a recruiter about like different job potentials, and I went through my first job interview through that recruiter, and I was woefully underqualified for the position. And they asked me very hard questions that I didn't know the answers to, and I was a nervous wreck the entire time. But now fast forward to today, 10 years later of working in the field, I've been interviewed so often that now I'm there and I'm counter interviewing them and going back and being like, I've failed all these attempts. You're probably going to reject me anyways. So I'm going to see if you're the right fit for me as well as I'm the right fit for you. So rejection.
Interviewing the interviewer.
Yeah. Rejection destigmatizes the fear that I've had in my life. And its repeated exposure to that stimuli of failure has desaturated my mind of failure.
So would you say you're afraid of failure?
I would say that I really, really hope that my endeavors like succeed. One of the things that I'm working on now is I'm working on a Unity project to create like a 360 video with ambionic sound. And basically like you're able to look around and the sound follows you while you're looking at a YouTube video. And I don't believe that it'll get more than like 100 views for that little project that I'll be doing. And is it worth me spending the next month or so trying to create this little project to get nothing? No clout, no exception from tribe. There might be a couple people who are like, oh, that's neat, but then that will fade from their mind forever. So what else can I get out of it other than the acceptance of others? It's the knowledge of how to do it, the pursuit of creation, and it's something that I want to try to see if I can accomplish. So I've had to learn to take out of my endeavors the things that I can control rather than the things that I can't.
That's pretty profound.
Yeah. I mean, that's a serenity prayer right there, is, help me to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And what I'm hearing you say, Quinton, is really like that fear of failure is kind of lost from you. And so that gives you so much more freedom to take more risks and to put yourself out there and to do the things that really invigorate Quinton. And what I really am hearing, and tell me, I'm interested in your thought, is that like there's like this, you love Quinton, like you're good with Quinton. And so and if that's so, like, what does self-love mean for you?
Yeah. So we could take this into examples, like the first, or like one of the couple of girls that I asked out in high school. Like I was a nervous wreck. I didn't know if she'd say yes or no, and if she said no, that would be devastating, and I would melt as a human being.
That's how it feels. It really does. It like I literally feel like I'm going to die.
I was putting self-worth on whether or not the tribe accepted me. And so over the years of all those rejections, I've had to learn to extract that self-worth out of the process of asking someone out. So, so now
your self-worth is not dependent on their response.
Mm-hmm. So now when I ask women out, I think, who are they? Where are they at in their life? And am I a hindrance or a burden to them while I'm asking them out?
Mm.
So if I'm talking to someone and they um, aren't very talkative back to me, I've had to learn that that's a sign that I probably shouldn't pursue that. And yeah, like, but also I've learned not to be afraid to ask anyways,
Mm.
and phrase it in such a way that it gives them the opportunity not to feel bad about themselves for having to reject people. Um, because I've heard it often where uh, women who get asked out feel bad about themselves for having to reject someone and hurt someone. So if I can take their guilt out of it, then we both walk away more uplifted and knowledgeable about the situation.
Whoa.
So if I'm like, hey, like, I like you, I find you attractive, and I would like to get to know you better, feel free to say no and go about your day. But would you like to go out and go get a pizza or something?
That is powerful because, or like a job interview or,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in the dating arena
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
I'm married, but I was there and that was scary. And, the same fear of like if someone put a gun to my head or like ringing on the doorbell to, or someone is, that I was dating or, going for an interview, like the arousal is just the same. And
Like, when was the last time that you asked your wife something that you were scared to ask her about?
That's a great
uh,
question.
mm, like, yeah, I think there's questions that, are we completely honest with? And um, uh, I might be more the exception. Most people may, I don't know. I probably am the one that gets in trouble a lot. But the
How
but
did you get how did you get to the point where you are not afraid to ask your wife something?
um yeah, probably the same concept is that I've been rejected a lot and I've failed, I think in the last 8 years, I've been fired from 5 of my jobs. And that's been a lot. That was
Mm-hmm.
hard. And it didn't just I wasn't only rejected from that tribe, but financially I really did feel like I was out in the sticks just naked and trying to start a fire by myself. And it's been hard, and that but it has. And I think I could probably share more, but I don't want to make it about me. But what I really want to say here, Quentin, and for everybody, I think this is valuable for everybody, is that um like, because that fear, like, you're good with Quinton. If
Mm-hmm.
you get accepted or rejected by the person you're attracted to, that you're still going to be good. And so because that is no longer your focus,
Mm-hmm.
you're able to focus on them and like take the guilt out of them. And that's like so like next level. And I love that about you, Quentin, that you have that awareness because you're so grounded. You're able to see if they're getting shaky and be sensitive to them, even if even if they're going to maybe throw you under the bus, per se, and have that sensitivity. And I
Yeah.
just that's so awesome.
And I think um, a big fear that I had. So I've been in relationships with someone who was um, extremely popular on social media, and that relationship didn't end well. Um, and I was afraid of the backlash of people who didn't know any better, who didn't know about our relationship, um, butting into my life. And so I have a fear of privacy. Of I don't give out all my information to basically anyone, um, and that's something that I'm working with. Is to find what is the appropriate um, level of privacy that I should have with others.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
And so having experience and hindsight, and you've done this, what would you do differently?
Yeah. And I think the real question there isn't if I had a time machine, what would I go back in the past and fix? It's what have I learned from the past that now, if I were to put in the similar situation, I would change in the future.
Mm.
Um, and I
What
would,
have you learned rather than regretting, wishing that there was a time machine? Just what have I learned from that?
yeah. And I have learned to be the person that I am now from the people that I've hurt in the past and the feelings that I have had because of that. Um, the relationships that have gone bad, both romantic and platonic, those are the things that hurt me the most as a human. And the projects that have sunk and did nothing, those are a dime a dozen, and those don't matter to me as much as people, their feelings, um, their progress in their own life. And I've burnt bridges to friendships that I shouldn't have, and I can't go back and fix them. So I just have to look forward to the bridges that I'm building now with people and make sure that I am building bridges that I don't want to burn later because I'm scared.
Oh, and why is there more pain associated with failed relationships or burning bridges in the relationships rather than failing work or losing money or the more the material? Why is there more pain associated with those?
I believe that is an axiom. So in mathematics, you have axioms. Axioms are fundamental things that we believe to be true so that we can build the rest of mathematics on top of it. So an axiom of mine, a fundamental truth that I believe to be true just because it um, is that I care about other people. And sometimes I am selfish, and I am afraid that being selfish or doing something will hurt people, make them feel bad, make them not accept me. And I believe, let's see, that's a fun one to unpack because I want to be accepted by the tribe. So I need to be a pleasant person to be around. Our wants determine what our needs are. If I want to live, I need to eat. If I don't want to live, I don't need to eat. And our wants influence what we need in life. And I want to be accepted by others. So I need to not hurt other people.
It's very profound.
I'm definitely chewing on that. And for me, I think maybe this is what you're saying, Quinton, is just the priority in your life is people, relationships are a higher priority. And so when those slip through your fingers or when you hurt people, and thank you for being like so brutally honest. Like most people don't admit that, although we all have. I know I've hurt many people, but how often I don't often say, out of the people I've hurt, that's not so thank you for that authenticity.
Yeah. It's like, why do I want to create a video game where millions of people play it? It's so that I can connect with people and be accepted by them. And when I've been in romantic relationships, I haven't felt the need to pursue as many creative endeavors at the same time because I was fulfilled.
Mm-hmm. And I, being fulfilled and what are our desires. I like that. And just this morning, I was listening to another podcast and they were saying how there's three levels of, I don't know, three different mentalities that we go through. And they had used terrestrial or telestial, terrestrial, and celestial mentality. And the base one is that you're just doing your base instincts. You're hungry, so you get food. You want sex, so you go get sex, and it's just you're just your behavior is directly dictated by your desires. But the higher one, the terrestrial, is like, what is the greater good, and being aware of that, but and having that, how can I function in the tribe, in the community, and hurt least people as possible. That's kind of that second mentality. But you're just doing that because that's like the best way to survive, because if you just do your impulses, you usually end up in jail. So those people are rejected. But the third level, celestial, is where you truly desire to like love people. Like that is your, like, you don't have to white knuckle it anymore. That is how you think. That's you want to give of yourself because that's actually like fun for you. And I guess, Quinton, what I hear you saying, and this is how I see you, is that level is like you truly just, you get up on the stage, and you've given me so many pearls of wisdom. I remember just like, I get so afraid and I'm only thinking about myself. And you'd said, if you're afraid, then you're just thinking of yourself. But when you get on the stage, think of how you're impacting and bringing laughs to others, and how you're benefiting. And that has helped you to perform better. But it's like, that's more celestial or higher thinking. And I think I just have really learned a lot from you.
Yeah. Are we almost out of time?
Yes. So I just two more questions here. Is just, is there one message that you have, and if so, that you would want to leave for today?
Yeah. I would say that if you are unhappy with yourself, you need to reflect on why. Reflect on what's the priority for your life. What do you find value in? Because when I reflected on what I found value in and changed my actions to meet with my goals, I became a person that I liked and a person that I could accept. And yes, sometimes I become selfish, and the goal that I set out for myself wasn't the goal that I needed to be set. But through the act of failure, I know the monsters that are underneath my bed, and I'm able to work with them to become happy. Do the things today that will guarantee that I'll be happy tomorrow.
Wow, there's so much packed in there. Just take those risks. Check out what are your fears? Look them right in the eyeballs. Go for it. And as you face your fears, you build that self-love, that place where you really care about yourself. And then when you can lose fear of failure, then you can start living the life that you really want. And then you can be aware of other people, and I think really, as you care about yourself, you can care about others. I guess in closing, there is one parable that I want to leave, and this comes from a Gaia thing that I saw on. The movie is called Finding Joe, and there was this village, this tribe, and they had a golden Buddha, and they loved it, and that was such a symbol of power and of the community, and that was a sense of pride for them. But then they heard that the Huns were coming, and they were going to destroy everything in their path. And so what they did, so that they wouldn't, is they covered it with dirt and tried to make it just look not attractive. And they were successful. They didn't destroy the Buddha, but through the chaos and the fog of war, they forgot about this Buddha. And later there was a Buddhist monk that was coming, and he got really closer than most people, because there's still a lot of trash and junk around it, but he wanted to see it. And he saw like a very small sliver of gold, a little like pocket, and he's like, oh, that's interesting. And so he started to pry and pick away at it. And what he found is that as he started to unbury the dirt that was all around it, it became this beautiful Buddha again, and it became a symbol, and it united people and was a source of pride for the community that lived there. And that's the parable. And Bunker, I'm going to put you on the spot. How is this a life lesson? Any takes on that?
So if I understand the story correctly, Buddha was buried, and then the monk gets closer, and as he uncovered it, he discovers more.
Yes, it was covered with dirt, and it was still standing erect. It wasn't buried in the ground, but yes.
Well, I think on the topic of what we're talking about, a lot of times like happiness is within. Sometimes we look in other places. I think too, there's a lot of, especially the people I talk to, like a lot of dislike of the self or self-loathing, and that can be metaphorically piling dirt onto ourselves. And I think sometimes, just as Quinton explained, we have to like really sit there and think like, where am I at? What am I thinking? Like reflect on the self. And I think from my own experiences, I've done that. I've realized that there is metaphorically the gold Buddha shining within. And as I uncover the dirt, life seems a lot more beautiful. And I think people can see that in you, and you can see it in yourself. And then when you look in the mirror, you see that golden Buddha as well.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. That all of you listeners and Quinton, like, this is how I see you, is that you are that golden Buddha, but through the rejection, the lemons that are maybe thrown at you, the booze and those dates or jobs and projects that fail, that's like the dirt, and it covers like our true shiny, the worth of us, and we begin to think that we're just dirt, that because of the negativity that goes around. But if we can chip away and find our inner self and find that inner self-love, then we can be a source, a light to others, and maybe take that dirt and turn it, or the lemons, and turn it into lemonade. And I just really appreciate this podcast and the messages that were expressed here of making the most that and the hand that you're dealt with. Lastly, just Quinton, what do you wish people knew about you that most do not?
So I have two separate lives. I have a performance life and I have a personal life. And I believe that it's okay to keep them separate, and it's okay to not have to share everything with everyone. And it's not hypocritical if one of your lives doesn't mash up with the other one, because you're still you're still doing the things that you love to do. And for me, I had to struggle with having like a dual persona for a while until I figured out that both of them were me, just in a different capacity, and I was able to service my needs because of my wants through both aspects of my life.
Wow, that's profound. So, because there's parts of you, and I think, yeah, there's different hats that we all wear, and so I maybe could say this. I remember at the close of one of our performances, Leah, our teacher, she saw me speaking Korean with my wife, and also one of my Korean friends that had come to cheer us on, and she was like, "What? You speak Korean?" And that's weird, but I feel like there was more emphasis in there than like the normal thing. And I think what she was really saying, I have to chat. I think we'll have to see what if I asked her, but I think what she was saying is like, Ryan, I've kind of perceived you as like a slow, stupid, like someone that doesn't, get things in here. Like, oh, there's like this whole other life. And I think she was able to see a different aspect. And so we get so, we see someone in a certain light, and then we think that that's who they are, and we put them into that box. But really, I
So
think there's a bigger, there's so much to what makes Quinton, makes Bunker.
there's
And
also something to be said about you thinking that she thought that you were dumb, because that's your own insecurities being personified onto somebody else.
Quinn, have you thought about a career in psychology? Because I think you'd be pretty good at it.
Kind of. But also I don't know if I could deal with the people. But no, like,
You're very talented in that regard. And very insightful questions. You made me reflect on myself a lot this past half an hour.
Well, thank you. And I definitely think you see to my soul that I definitely feel not being smart enough, and is definitely probably my first go-to insecurity. I think there maybe because of the failure, and if I was only smart enough, maybe I wouldn't be rejected as
and
much.
that's something that I've done, is to think of myself as awesome. And it's okay to think of myself as awesome, because I've done all these cool things. I have proof that I'm awesome. People have told me that I'm awesome. And society has told us that if we say that we are awesome, then we are narcissistic. No.
Whoa.
It's not humbleness to belittle yourself.
Yeah.
Be your own biggest fan. Cheer you are awesome. Like, and I love the quote, how if you think you're right or you're wrong, you're probably right. And another one, give yourself high marks, or high esteem, but because people usually take you at how you esteem yourself.
Yeah. It's like, how does art sell for millions of dollars? It's because someone perceived it as millions of dollars. If you perceive yourself as $1 million, then you will act in such a way to be bought as $1 million.
Wow. Well, that is a wrap. Thank you. Hopefully you perceive, you, the listener, you're, as you listen, that you now take on new courage, and that you perceive yourself as $1 million. And that really does change lives. And thank you, Quinton, for joining us. The integrity, the vulnerability, and just coming prepared. And I learned a lot from you today, and thank you so much.
Yes.
And
Definitely.
with that,
and every year you have to increase that $1 million because of inflation.
Absolutely.
Yes. Keep on growing. Keep on being your biggest fan. Well, that's it for today. Keep living with integrity. Give yourself high marks. You're $1 million yesterday, you're 2 million today. So keep on believing. All right. Gonna love you and leave you. Peace.
Peace.